A happily ever after is a prevalent trope slash theme in many fairy tales. It's either when a prince saves a princess or they fall in love, they get married, or a superhero saves someone from death and then spend the rest of their lives together. In fairy tales, happy ever after stories, while often dismissed as escapist fantasies, serve an important role in shaping cultural values and expectations as well as providing comfort and inspiration to readers by portraying ideal versions of love, relationships, and life. As well as happily ever afters are harmful as it promotes unrealistic expectations about love, relationships, and life, and undermine the complexity and diversity of human experiences, leading to disappointment, and dissatisfaction of in real life. In New Orleans based Princess and the Frog, a young woman named Tiana dreams of having her own restaurant, and there's a prince named Naveen who comes into town looking for a princess to marry for he can reclaim his fortune. During his search, he comes across a voodoo magician who transforms him into a frog. Then, disguised as a frog, he encounters Tiana and mistakes her for a princess, in hopes that a princess kiss will change him back. So he asks for her kiss in exchange for money that she needs to open up her own restaurant. She kisses him and transforms into a frog alongside of him, and they embark on an exciting journey and fall in love on the way. They lack the necessary skills, and it is a delusion to imagine that in the embrace of love, all obstacles will be forgotten, because difficulties will always be a part of our existence. As long as we live in this world, we will be subjected to the consequences of sin and unhappiness. We are flawed people who reflect on a flawed world. This fairy tale promotes unrealistic expectations of love because the prince lied to her from the beginning. It's almost common knowledge that starting a relationship off of lies is a horrible foundation. There are so many other red flags in the relationship that makes it seem like they wouldn't work out in the future. Today in modern culture, relationships, most of them do not work out. Most people get divorced in 5 to 15 years of being married. This right here is just another example of a rushed relationship that will fall apart in a couple years. They barely know anything about each other, but because they saved each other from the spell and got married after some time, it all worked out in the end. Relationships can't solve our problems or heal our wounds or fulfill all our hopes because they are never intended to. First comes struggle, then comes romance, then poof, the happily ever after. In these quotes by Deborah Fiatel, they're saying that relationships can't fix everything and many people lack necessary skills to withstand one anyways. It's delusional to think that love will conquer all obstacles because difficulties will always be a part of it. In this world we live in, there are there will always be unhappiness, and blind love will not fix that. Blind love will only last so long till poof, the happy ever after isn't so happy anymore.
In Aladdin, he comes from nothing. No parenting, no support, just homeless with his monkey. He wants more fortune and royalty. He eventually meets Princess Jasmine and begins to fall in love with her. He does anything to get her, even if he lies, which catches up to him in the long run. He gets a happily ever after when he achieves his goal and becoming royalty, having wealth and marrying a princess, which will make him a prince. He will no longer be looked over or identified as a hood rat. Jasmine comes from everything. However, she has to marry someone regardless of how she feels. She just wants someone who truly wants her for her, to love and care for her, not just the praise, the looks, and the outsiders. Eventually, she runs into Aladdin and accepts him for who he is, even though at first he seemed the same. Jasmine receives her happily ever after by getting someone to love her for her, not someone who wanted her for her wealth or the name. She was able to marry someone of her choice. Continued. The obsession with the happily ever after outcome often brings with it a narrow focus on a destination rather than a journey. Society has conditioned us to yearn for fairy tale endings where everything falls perfectly into place and all conflicts are neatly resolved. However, this fixation on the end result can overshadow the beauty and the growth that can be found within the process itself. Life is a continuous journey of ups and downs, twists and turns, and it is through the challenges and lessons along the way that we truly discover ourselves and find fulfillment. By embracing the present moment and appreciating the growth, the resilience, and self discovery that occur throughout our journeys, we can find a deeper and more authentic sense of happiness that transcends the confines of the predefined happily ever after. The notion of a happily ever after has faults in the plot of Aladdin, a cherished Disney classic. One may argue that depicting Jasmine's pleasure as a dependent on her love relationship with Aladdin fosters the perception that a woman's ultimate fulfillment is only dependent on finding her Prince Charming. This limited emphasis ignores Jasmine's anatomy, desires, and aspirations, turning her to a simple romantic object. It jeopardizes her chance of personal growth and development outside of a romantic connection. The concept of a happily ever after in Aladdin falls short of showing by real depth and independence that a well-rounded heroine like Jasmine may amplify by pushing this narrow storyline. Now we will speak upon Beauty and the Beast. The fairy tale Beauty and the Beast is considered a happily ever after story because it has a happily ending where the main characters find love and live happily ever after. In the story, Beauty is initially repulsed by the Beast's appearance, but over time she grows to appreciate his kind and gentle nature, seeing beyond his outward appearance. Eventually, the Beast's curse is broken and he is transformed into a handsome prince, allowing Beauty to marry him and live happily ever after. The story is also considered a happily ever after because it teaches the importance of inner beauty over outward appearance. Through Beauty experiences with the Beast, she learns that true love comes from a person's character, kindness, and compassion. The story also highlights the importance of seeing beyond stereotypes and prejudice to appreciate the true nature of a person. Overall, the happy ending of Beauty and the Beast comes from the transformative power of love and the importance of inner beauty. Adulthood, however, brings knowledge that life is messier than stories. This basically says that as a kid, you see life as something simple, but as you grow older, you realize how hard it is. Stories for very young children hold to the principle of happy endings almost without deviance, but the expectations are noteworthy. Children's stories often have happy endings, meaning no harm, but is it really preventing harm? In the fairy tale movie Shrek Forever After, Shrek is now married and the father of triplets. He wanted the freedom and adventures of his earlier days as an orc. Rump, a wish maker and con artist with dreams of becoming king, grants Shrek wish in exchange for wiping away any days of his life. The day Shrek was born, Rumple took everything away, which means that everything Shrek knew is now lost and he has nothing. Meaning Shrek never came across Fiona or freed her from the tower, got married, and had kids with Shem. Shrek and Donkey discover that the spells can be broken with the kiss of real love. They come across Fiona, who is now a warrior princess, in her underground camp of rebels of orcs. Fiona is not attracted despite his efforts to charm her. Even after giving her a kiss, nothing happened. They break the curse after a rough day in a Rumple's castle, which Shrek shows her his love for her. After seeing his current life in a flashback, Shrek realizes how much he values his family and the people who are around him, especially Donkey. When Shrek said, "I always wanted to be a real orc," this is one of the downfalls to happily ever after you start to question your life and is marriage what you really want. Long live the king and Queen Fiona, and I suppose Prince Shrek. The good part is they finally got married. The movie's storyline centers around Shrek's desire for a simpler, less chaotic life, which he believes he can achieve by reversing his decision to rescue Princess Fiona from the tower years earlier. In the end, however, as is common with many fairy tales, The trope of happily ever after prevails, and Shrek is reunited with his friends and family in a joyous ending. In conclusion, while the idea of happily ever after is frequently idolized, it does have certain negatives. One disadvantage is that having a flawless finale indicates the end of personal progress and obstacles. In truth, life is a never ending journey filled with ups and downs. The assumption of a static state of endless joy might breed complacency and a lack of ambition to strive for continued self improvement. In addition, the pressure to keep the illusion of a perfect, happily ever after can lead to feelings of failure or disappointment when confronted with the unavoidable flaws and conflicts that happen in every relationship or personal undertaking. Accepting that life is a dynamic process with ups and downs can give a more realistic and rewarding perspective on our own travels.